I think I just streamed a little bit of this to the channel. That's okay. Part of the whole point of this is it isn't supposed to be perfect. And now that I feel like I've kind of gotten a hang of the videos and the episode guides, boy, does doing something like this feel scary and weird and like a completely different muscle to build and develop. Uh, and to stop saying, see, now that's one of the things is starting over with a completely new format and with something that I'm not particularly comfortable with this, or rather with something that I'm not particularly comfortable with, there's a whole lot of stuff to work on. So the part of the fear, I guess, fear of failing or the fear of, I mean, just the one of the things that my content is so obsessed with is sort of grappling with purpose and impediments to purpose, which in my case are most often fear. I tend to believe that within reason, anything is possible. It just has to do with calibrating your expectations and understanding your own desires to do a thing. And so, that said, let's go ahead and hello, everyone. Welcome to Podcast of the Nerd, episode number 1. I'm Ian, and the first question I suppose we should start with is, how are you? How are you doing? You're looking good. Is that a new hat? Second most important question is probably why a podcast? And I think you would just kind of know, as someone who has spent the last 5+ years on a YouTube channel reviewing a show that's been off the air for 17 years, I kind of think this podcast thing is going to be big, and I wanted to get in on the ground floor. But first of all, it's not my intention with this podcast, which is a new thing, to talk about things that I'm talking about on the channel. By that I mean this isn't going to be an episode-by-episode discussion of Whedonverse shows. For that, I'd suggest you go to Chipperish Media's podcast, Still Dead and Still Pretty. That's my friend Lonnie. She's doing a great job with... I'm sorry I don't remember her guest host, but she's doing a great job with both Angel and Buffy. And then, I mean, the one that everyone talks about of note is definitely Buffering the Vampire Slayer. And I believe they just started season 5 as well. Now, so what is this one going to be about? Well, podcasting is a totally different instrument from the one I play with the channel. And because there are so many really good ones out there that covering Buffy and Angel that even I would have suggested you go and watch or listen to get your Whedonverse fix instead, it took me a while to kind of figure out or understand what, to me, the benefit of a podcast would be. And when I say that, what I mean is along the ways, I think anyone making something, even someone with a large audience, finds that ultimately when you sit down to make a thing, if you try and create something to cater to your audience, and I know this person doesn't like this thing, and I know this person doesn't like that, and maybe they'll think this is funny, then there's too many voices, there's too many opinions, there's too many by averaging out your content among all of those different voices and opinions, it's going to average out your content. It's going to water down your voice and kind of what you're good at. So, I mean, for me, every time I sit down to review an episode of the shows or to talk about anything, the thing that I have to try and do is shut every voice out and think to myself, what do I want to write about? What do I want to say? What do I find entertaining? And so figuring out what the answers to those questions were in regards to a podcast were, sorry, that's the cat's auto feeder. The idea of these is it's going to be live and mostly unscripted. I'll get into that in a minute. So, you may hear a child in the background from time to time, or the cat feeding or disposing of things she fed on. Anyway, so kind of one of the things that I started thinking about in regards to why I think a podcast might be a benefit to me, or why I would be interested in having one, was I'm a big proponent of therapy. There's a comment I get on the channel quite a bit, which is that the videos are better than therapy. First of all, let me just say thank you. Second of all, you should probably look for a better therapist, because if you're feeling that way, you're wrong. A good therapist is worth it and way better, but I appreciate it. I appreciate it nonetheless. But one of the things I love about therapy is one of the ways I write is I try and get very personal with a piece of material. And so, the woman that I've been working with for a while is very used to me coming in and saying, so, hush. It's like there's these zombies, but they're not really zombies. They're like the gentleman, and I don't have a personal connection to it. One of the ones was Faith 5x5. I remember coming into her and telling her that I kept thinking about the worst thing I've ever done to another human being, and grappling with that morality. There are things that I think that we all did when we were 6 or 7 years old that, where we embarrassed ourselves, and I'm 40 and still wake up from time to time with that feeling of, because the memory doesn't age. We do, and mature, but those sort of feelings and sensations kind of sit around. But, oh boy, is this going to be a babbly free association podcast. What was I talking about? Yes, this is the benefit of an outline. So one of the things I do in therapy is I end by saying, here are my goals for the week. Here's what I want to accomplish. Here are the here's we've been talking about life, and my goal is to always to be a better man, and to not punish myself for things, but to look at my life realistically and say, okay, here are the areas where I'm looking to improve. And so you end the session by saying, here's what I'm going to try and work on for the next week. And one of the huge benefits, even if I believe therapy is a benefit to anyone. The difference is, there's never a point in your life where sitting down with an unbiased third party and saying, look, here's what I'm up to, here's what I'm working on, and having them give you feedback is a negative thing. The difference between, when I say I think everyone can benefit from therapy, is some people need it once a month, once a year. Other people need it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm somewhere in the middle. But one of the things I hate, or one of the experiences in life I really despise, is that, oh my God, it's Thursday? Is October already done? Holy, like that time acceleration thing. If you're working, when I was working in just painful dead end jobs, I almost developed time acceleration as a muscle. If I just space out enough, if I just dissociate enough, then the day will just go by and I'll be okay. But what a strange way, it was an awesome coping mechanism, but what a weird way to live, to eat up the hours of life that way. Thing is, when I talk like that, you should know, I'm in a wonderful position of privilege, and I acknowledge that. I don't have children. I'm debt free. As of a year ago, debt free for the first time since I was 18 years old. I have all the advantages. So I don't have to work a job like that. So I'm not poo-pooing anyone who chooses to do that because of things they care about in their life more than that, or any of that. I have wonderful flexibility. It's just the idea of I'm going on a tangent again. Okay, this is going to be one of those things where I sort of let go and come back and let go and come back. So, weekly check-in. Here are my goals for the week, and then the beginning of the session, when I sit down with the therapist and start talking, I say, well, here are my goals for last week. Here's what I did or did not accomplish. And the idea of that weekly check-in is it slows down time. It slows that propensity of mine to, my brain is a balloon always trying to escape from me. And it has manifested in the channel, in the schedule, in delivery dates, in all of that. So I thought, well, hey, what if one of the benefits of a podcast would not to turn it into therapy, because no one needs to know my childhood traumas of dropping ice cream cones, but to kind of talk about process, to talk about, I'm working on 3 episode guides and a personal series right now with the Nerd Shipper series, and I thought it might be interesting to kind of use this as a place to talk about that process, to reach out, but not just about work. Since I quit my job in September of 2018, I feel like there was a ton to confront with the channel, and there was a ton to work on, and other things suffered because of it. I'm someone with intense a distraction addict, and now that I made my job my hobby, or rather my hobby my job, I'm finding I kind of need a hobby. I spend so much time on work and thinking about writing, or punishing myself for not writing the thing I'm supposed to be writing, so I don't allow myself to do other things that make me happy. So you just kind of waste time. That's procrastination. That's a different wormhole to go down. But I think a healthy life, a life in balance, addresses the things of ideas of personal health and relationships and connections, and my relationships have suffered. I said in the toolbox fallacy, there's going to be all sorts of noises like that. I said in the toolbox fallacy that I believe a life, what did I say? See, all these noises threw me off. Maybe I need to silence them just for the purposes of this. Going back to my outline, sorry. 3 weeks. Jeez. Another notification in my ears. It's going to be an amazing podcast, Ian. Anyway, so the idea is to be intentional and to sort of check in with you guys about plans for the week, and then kind of give a reporting of the previous week, and if this develops any kind of following or interest, maybe to dedicate sessions to answering questions or talking with all of you. But yeah, so living the dream job, and now that I've made my hobby my job, I'm finding that I need a hobby. Yeah, and also I said in the that's what it was. I said in the toolbox fallacy that, when we get to be a certain age, I just find a lot of times, especially in the area of the country I'm in, opportunities to meet new people get whittled down to church and work. and I'm an atheist that works from home. Oh, that was in the video after the toolbox fallacy. So there's a lot to work on. There's a lot of goals and ambitions and things that I kind of want to get done. And I thought that could be fodder for conversation in this format. And I also thought that, I see tons of stuff. For me, a review is a welcome, grueling experience. It's the thing about, it took me a long time to learn that about passions, that no matter what, work is work. And, editing is a slow, grindy process and all of that. But consequently, it's also something that I dedicate my time to very specifically. I've done movie reviews between seasons on the channel and all of that, but there's just so much work to do now that if I go and see something like Joker, which I didn't enjoy, sorry, excuse me, if I go and see something like Joker, or I'm watching a television or show or something like that, and it doesn't necessarily lend itself to, it's not something I want to commit the time to making a review of, then, podcast time. So, comments of the week. The idea here will be to set some goals for the following week and then report back in, frank and openly as possible. I tend to have one speed with people because I don't really have a great memory. If I try and keep track of the things I did and did not tell certain individuals, I tend to get in trouble. So, and with creative endeavors, if you're doing something for yourself, then the vulnerability that you do or do not allow is really only a reward or punishment for you. So if I want to get something out of this, then it behooves me to, be open about it, short of social security number and address and so forth. Now, here's the thing. This is just going to be me. I may bring someone on from time to time, but most people I know around this area have jobs and kids. They don't have this wonderful dream job that I have. And I was listening to the Bill Burr podcast where he rattles along by himself for an hour with an outline. And I was kind of struck by what an ability that is to be able to have a conversation with someone not in the room. Speak coherently off the cuff strikes me as a useful skill to have. Everything I do is scripted. I have a pretty scripty outline that I'm working from for this. So that's the intention. I just kind of want to work on that. I thought it would be fun to build up. I don't know about fun to listen to, but then we get back to that question of who are you making the thing for? And I'm not forcing anyone to either watch this video on YouTube or subscribe on podcasts. Anyway, so I don't have the muscle built, and an hour would be an insane amount of time spent sort of meandering and, walking a free association. So that's just ridiculous. I'm not going to start this with an hour. Here's the plan. Starting on Monday, I'm going to put up episode 2. And the goal for episode 2 is 10 minutes. 10 minutes talking about the things that I've kind of brought up. Just you, me, and an outline. Episode 3 will be 12, then 14. And the goal will be to build the muscle. Or I won't, and this podcast will go the way thousands of others have. 3 or 4 episodes and then nothing. And that's fine. But a lot of times, whatever the potential of failing at something may be, it's not really reason enough not to try. So, on that note, goals for this week. The channel video this week is the Firefly episode Bushwhacked. Jess and I watched it and came up with a whole bunch of notes and found a bunch of good things that I'm excited to share with you. One thing I'm grappling with Bushwhacked right now is, there are people watching the channel who are only watching the Firefly videos, which is great. I mean, I have no feelings about that one way or another. But the, obviously existential philosophy is layered throughout each of those shows. And so the question always comes up as to, I feel like with the Angel videos, I can refer people to the Amends review, or Lie to Me is kind of the seminal philosophical take in that episode guide. But with Firefly, I feel like I have to kind of start from scratch. And so figuring out how to do that with that episode guide has been kind of where I've been hung up. I may actually include a skip to and a time code in the Bushwhacked for anyone who, has already heard my Sartre. Sartre? I don't know the French pronunciation. And whether I do it one way or another, I noticed I've gotten crap for it. So, again, what makes me happy? Sartre. Now, that's the thing, is I'm the worst naysayer of all. So neither one of them is going to make me happy. Anyway, yeah, so that's the goal. I mean, the week has gotten on. I have been absolutely terrified about sitting down and doing this. So this has been the black hole task that has been consuming all of my other tasks this week. But here we are, and I'm sitting here, and we're getting it done. Hooray! And of course, I mean, I'm prone to horrible stage fright, even though I come from a theater background. And I felt this way with the Patreon hangouts and the live streams and all of that. And just over time, as I've done it more and more, the fear has gotten less and less. And certainly that's one of the ambitions with this. So I need to make sure when I drink water, I drink it away from the microphone. But, like I said, part of the ambition of this podcast is not specifically related to work. So, high-level goals. I really think I kind of need to go on some dates. Maybe I'll get into some of the backstory on that the next time, but we're setting goals here, and going on a date is a project with many executable tasks leading up to it. Get fit is not something you can check off a to-do list. Go to the gym is. So, the gym of dating is probably OkCupid and Match. Specific measurable results in that regard. So by Monday, send or respond to 5 messages. It's Thursday already, so I feel like that's relatively ambitious. God, the cat is looking so cute. I mean, manly things. Send or respond to 5 messages. Try and get to know some people. Get out of the cave, the recording and writing cave. And speaking of gyms, I have a membership to one I haven't been using. So the goal there is to go 3 times. Actually, that was earlier in the week. Twice. Go twice, 30 minutes of cardio. It's Planet Fitness, so the carrot is that they have these massage chairs that you sit in afterwards, and they're bliss. See, just thinking about that made me want to go to the gym. So think about that. And of course, for me, things just vanish and disappear if I don't put them in the calendar. So immediately after this, I'm going to put both of those in the calendar. The Uz. See? When you need that moment to go and look at the outline and keep moving, have to fill it with something other than Anyway, I'll give you a report on Monday or a bevy of excuses. one of those is more likely than the other one. So, what about you? Do you have goals for the week? Things you want to get done? If you feel so motivated, let me know down in the comments if you're watching on the video version on YouTube. Or you can tweet me at Ian Nitram. That's my last name spelled backwards. Nitram. I think that's it. Have a good week, everyone. Be good.